Prob Problem number 1. Use the table of values in the example problem to graph the function. Explain how to find the slope and y-intercept from the graph. So we're first going to plot 0 and 50. So 0 and 50, 10 and 125. For this part, I am going to go ahead and make this graph bigger just so you can see it, how do I graph. So we're going to start off with 0 and 50. We then go to 10 and 125, 20 and 200, 30 and 275, 40 and 350, and 50 and 425. As you can see, it does make a straight line. Now, to answer the actual problem, it says explain how to find the slope and the y-intercept from the graph. So, on the graph, we match the number that is at 0. So, when we were starting at 0, we had a point on 50. So, we always start at 0. $50 is the y-intercept. To find the slope, we look at how much we're changing by. To go from 0 to 10, we go up 10. To go from 50 to 125, we go up 75. So we write our fraction, rise over run, y over x. And so y is changing by 75, x is changing by 10. So our slope is 75 over 10. However, we can simplify that fraction. We can divide both of those by 5. When you divide 75 by 5, you get 15 over 2. Our slope is 15 over 2. Problem number 2. Explain how the equation y equals 7.5x plus 50 in the example problem shows the slope and the y-intercept. So, when we have an equation, we have to use the general form, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, which is 7.5, or our answer of 15 over 2. And the y-intercept, b, is 50. In problem number 3, what do the slope and the y-intercept mean in the context of the problem? So if we look at our slope, it is going to be the cost per week. Slope is the cost per week. The y-intercept is how much money the club starts with. It's that initial fee that you have to pay up front. Not the per week, but the initial fee that you have to pay up front each month. Problem number 4. A taxi service charges a pickup fee plus a charge for each mile driven. The equation y equals 1.8x plus 5 gives the total cost y to travel x miles in the taxi. Complete the table. Explain how to use the table to find the slope and the y-intercept for this function. So, to find our problem, instead of x, we're going to use our x values. So the first one, we're going to do 1.8 times 0, and then add 5. You should get 5 as your answer. For the second one, we're going to multiply 1.8 times 10, and then plus 5. You should get 23. The third one, 1.8 times 20 plus 5, you should get 41. Again, 1.8 times 30 plus 5, you get 59. And the last one, 1.8 times 40 plus 5 is 77. Now, the y-intercept is always paired with 0. So when we start at 0, our y-intercept is 5. So We always start at 0. And so the y-intercept is 5. To find the slope, we can, to use the table, because it does tell us use the table. So to use the table, we have to do y over x or rise over run. So to find that, we have to figure out how much are we changing by. So each time we go up, we're going up by 10s. And on the y-axis, we are going up by 18s. So our fraction is going to be 18 over 5. If you do 18 over 10, not 18 over 5, 18 over 10. My apologies, 18 over 10. To find the slope from the table, you make a fraction. Rise over run, y over x. Problem number 5. A different taxi service charges a pickup fee of $4 plus a charge of 1.75 cents per mile driven. Write an equation for this function and identify the slope and the y-intercept. Our equation always starts with y equals 1.75 is our slope because it's $1.75 per mile, so 1.75x, and then plus 4. The slope is 1.75. The y-intercept is 4. Problem number 6. Enrico is filling his pool. The pool has 3,000 gallons of water in it now. The water hose that Enrique uses puts 500 gallons per hour into the pool. Write an equation for the number of gallons y of water in the pool after x hours. Identify the slope and the y-intercept. So our equation starts with y equals. It tells us it's 500 gallons per hour, so that is our slope. So it's 500x plus 3,000, because it's starting with 3,000 in it now. The slope is 500, and the y-intercept is 3,000. Problem number 7. The Peach Festival charges $12 for admission and $2.25 for each pound of peaches picked. Write an equation for the total cost y if you picked x pounds of peaches. Use your equation to find the total cost of attending the festival and picking 5 pounds of peaches. So, first for our equation starts with y equals. Our slope is $2.25 per pound, so 2.25x, and then plus 12, because it's $12 to get in. So, if we want to pick 5 pounds of peaches, we're going to use our equation, 2.25 times 5 plus 12. When we solve that, 2.25 times 5 gives us 11.25 plus 12 gets us a total of $23.25. And for problem number 8, it says write an equation for the function that passes through the points 1 and 3 over 2 and 3 over 2 and 2. So first we have to find the slope. To find the slope of 2 points, we have to use our slope formula and label them x1 and y1, x2 and y2. Our equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when we solve it, we're going to do 2 minus 1, 2 minus 3 halves, 2 minus 3 halves, and then 3 halves minus 1. If we solve that problem, you should get 0.5 over 0.5. And so 0.5 divided over 0.5 is 1. Your slope is 1. So we're going to put y equals, you could put y equals 1x or y equals x. So your y-intercept is going to be 1. If you graph those points on a coordinate plane, you would see that your line starts at 1 and goes up. And so your y-intercept is 1, so it's going to be plus 1 onto the end of your equation.